a passionate instigator and dynamic problem solver. Dr. Kevin Ross Emery, the host of the Dr. Kevin Radio Show, will be taking you outside the box, behind the curtain, and identifying the load of BS we are fed every day. And now, Dr. Kevin.
I texted you like 45 minutes ago to remind you.
Oh, that's what I was...
Hello, and welcome to the Dr. Kevin Show here on OMTimes. So, here on the Dr. Kevin Show, we challenge everything and everyone. And I apologize. I was speaking to my guest who hadn't called in yet to find out what was going on. She's going to be calling in a little later when she can. But we're going to get the show started without her. So, first of all, remember that the Dr. Kevin Show is now a live call-in show, and the number is 202-570-7057. That's 202-570-7057. You can also come to facebook.com/MyDrKevin, and there will be a post where you can post on today's show. You can post today right now, and we will read your comment or share your thoughts on the air. Or if you are watching this as a replay, because this show does replay, then we would still respond to your question. Obviously, it wouldn't be on air. Again, that's facebook.com/MyDrKevin. Remember, when you come to My Dr. Kevin, to like me. I'm a likable guy, whether you believe it or not, though some people might disagree. All I had to say is they'd be wrong. So on this week's show, calling in shortly, we will have Angie D'Anjou, who is my partner at Web of Light, as we kind of put some stuff, what I'm calling through the Spiritual Lens series. But I want to start on the first part of this to talk about suicide. For many of you, you were very shocked that we just had the lead singer of Linkin Park, Chester Bennington, just committed suicide. A man with 7 successful debut albums, with 6 kids, who had plans just in a couple of weeks to be able to do a presentation, to do a concert with another band. He was scheduled to do a show with his friends Blink 182 July 28th at Citi Field in New York and July 30th at Hershey Park. A man that appears to have had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of positive stuff going on, at least from the outside. And, you know, that happens. Things will happen where people are doing positive, you know, looks like they have the world. From all appearances, he had a happy marriage and he had kids and he had a successful career and he had a lot of positive things going on, and he was 41. But appearances can be deceiving. We never know what's going on in someone's inner life. Perhaps maybe 1 or 2 people there might have known, might have had some kind of thought, or, that, he seemed a little down or whatever. But there is certain languaging. There are certain things people say, certain things that happen where people start to communicate in like there's a limited time in front of them. There are a lot of good websites. There are 2 YouTube videos you can find how to spot if somebody in your life might be considering suicide. I do want to take a second, and I will post this on break, that there is a national suicide prevention line, 1-800-273-8255, if you or anyone you know wants to commit suicide. Now, all of that being said, there's always this thing about, the loss of a human life. And of course, we have loss of humans' lives every day. When we look at somebody that's highly successful and highly talented and seems to have it all, it's a little bit more mind-boggling. But people do die every day. And at this point, I also do want to talk about suicide. A few years back, Olivia Stefanino from Be Your Own Guru, who fame, that's her book, Be Your Own Guru, who lives over in Chester, England, and Mary Grace McManus from Seattle, Washington, and I did a series of radio shows on death. And some of the, and one of the shows that we did is we did a show on suicide. I have all of those in my archives, and I'm going to see about getting them released again. Because it wasn't just suicide, but it was also death of a dream, death of a marriage. There was all sorts of death, sudden death, when sudden death hits. And, we have a lot of funny ideas and thoughts around death. A lot of times how we feel or how we react to death has to do with what we were raised to see or believe. One of the things that, a lot of people, when they're young and death seems very far away, and young can be right into your 40s, 50s, 60s in this day and age, where death seems very far away, don't really know until somebody really close to them dies, or something happens where they almost get killed, or have a diagnosis that could kill them, or something like that. Really examine what is their relationship with death, what is their relationship with life, and what is their relationship with whatever they call God. And it's very important, because how you feel about death, how you see death, really has a lot to do with what you believe happens after death. Do you believe there's a heaven? Do you believe there's an ever after? Do you believe we're dust and we blow away? Do you think we come back? Do we reincarnate? Will this man walk the earth plane again wearing a different face, maybe even a different gender at a different time? Some people would say yes, others would say no. I don't know what he would say. I don't know really much about Chester, except that he was famous and seemed to have a lot going on in a very positive way from the outside. But then there's the question of suicide. And if somebody has no quality of life. Now, obviously, this man did. But also a big debate is on assisted suicide. And where does assisted suicide fall in your belief system? Where does suicide fall? It's that person's life. Do they have a right? I can already hear the people that are going, oh, no, somebody doesn't have the right to kill themselves. Well, why not? Why wouldn't they have the right to decide what to do with their life, their own body? Some people would say, oh, well, it's a mental illness, so you have to stop it. Sometimes it's not a mental illness. And maybe sometimes we don't have to stop it. In this case, again, I don't know what the backstory was, but it's at times like this, if you were a fan of Lincoln Park, if this death, this particular suicide touched you in a way, if you thought about it, if it made you rethink some things, or if it just kind of created a visceral reaction for you, these are good questions to have. And these are good questions to have with, sometimes close friends or your spouse, your significant other, whatever. Just, how do I feel? What do I think? And if death came knocking at the door tomorrow, what do I really think is going to happen? Who's going to open that door? What's going to be there? The more settled we become around death, then the less the thought of our own death impacts us, if we are really comfortable with it. And we can still be sad, but if you really believe that somebody goes to heaven, or somebody is going to be born again, or that somebody can be communicated to through somebody who has a gift of mediumship, like myself, So when somebody comes to me and says, we have no proof that life goes on, that anything happens after death. Well, I do. You have no proof. You might not like my proof, but you don't have to like my proof. You just have to respect that I have it. And I have to respect that you think that they may go to the kingdom of heaven, if that's what you feel, or not. And we'll be right back with the Dr. Kevin Show.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Tune in to the Practical Intuitive, Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World with me, host Robin Fritz, Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern. I'll cover personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice, and more, all to help you tap your own intuitive and healing skills. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Mother, Mother Ocean.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Buffett. West Indian manatees are one of the most unique animals on Earth, and we're still finding out so many new things about them. But manatees are endangered, and many of them are killed or injured each year because of watercraft collisions or other human activities. You can help save these gentle marine mammals. For free tips on what you can do, call Save the Manatee Club at 1-800-432-JOIN. Thank you.
Hello and welcome back to the Dr. Kevin Show, where we challenge everything and everyone. Yes, I just heard from Angie, who was to be my guest tonight. There has been a medical emergency with one of her pets. So we're sending her good energies and prayers, and she's at the vet right now that it's all going to come out all right. It's very interesting because I'm going to share with my listeners, because we've been talking about suicide, and with the suicide of the lead singer Chester Bennington of the Lincoln Park. That talking a little bit about what our thoughts are on death and what happens and what goes on and what can you do about it, and what do you really feel about it. And it was very funny because this is a very close to my heart right now thing. As earlier this week, my fiance and I, Kat Maharaja, known as Raj, 9 years old, perfect health, had a seizure and was gone in a matter of like 90 minutes. Very unexpected. And, and that's another kind of death that we have to look at, because for people who have pets, that pets are part of their family, people that have them get it and say, oh I'm so sorry, and what happened, and how are you doing? And, and losing a pet is like losing one of your kids. Now, as somebody who has lost both of my brothers, one at 24 and one at 48. I can't quite compare losing what my mother went through when she lost first my oldest brother and then my middle brother to what I'm feeling losing my cat. But I do get that parallel of, especially when it's, someone, because anybody that owns an animal, they have a name, they have a personality, and they would say that, it's like, one of their four-legged children. And it has this loss feeling of, you come home and you expect them to be waiting there to yell at you if you weren't there in time to feed them, or if you have a dog, to jump all over you or to greet you or make you feel like you're the most special person in the world. So we do get attached to our pets, and they do become part of our family. So again, Angie will not be joining us today. She has, we're sending energies and prayers to Mr. Flops. Her dog, who is in emergency vet care right now, and we don't know what's going on, but she did let me know when I reached out to her. And that's a little bit of what you heard at the very beginning of the show as I was trying to track down why she wasn't on air. So again, I apologize. But the show must go on and will go on. And so tonight, guys, it's you and me. I'm going to open the show up. I have some things I'm going to be talking about on this show, because I always have things to talk about, whether I have anybody on the show or not. But again, I would definitely encourage anybody who's listening, this is a great time if you want to get some insight, guidance, ask some questions, to call in live, 202-570-7057. That is, again, 202-570-7057. And you can talk about death or suicide, or one of my other topics today is going to be on religious bullying. And so you can call in. And again, that call-in number is 202-570-7057. Or you can come to mydrkevin.com. You will see a little post about today's show. And you can post there, and I will see your posting, and I can bring your comment onto air. So this is a good time for you out there. Again, those of you who were touched by this very sudden suicide or loss, to say, how do I feel about death? How do I feel about suicide? How do I feel? What if I have children? What would I say to them? How would I explain it to them? How was it explained to me? And give that some thought. And where are you going? And then, what is your relationship with death? As somebody who has done past life work for, I think I did my first past life flash and somebody back in the late 70s. So a long time. Somebody who has talked to dead people, who has cleared ghosts, who has had communications. For me, the soul continues. The soul continues. And it continues in many of its different forms. It will come back. It will play with us again. I have had no experience in, souls that were human reincarnating as people. As animals, or animals reincarnating as people. There are some religious, spiritual belief systems out there that very much believe in that. It's not my experience, but that doesn't mean I still can't respect that that's how they feel. And of course, there are some people that think that when you're dead, you're dead. Well, then that's it. And I can respect that as well, that that's yours. But it's all about, you also need to respect mine. And mine has come from experiences, from doing over doing hundreds and hundreds of mediumships and hundreds of ghost clearings and hundreds of past life regressions. And remember, I started doing professional psychic work in the 70s. So that number could easily be in the thousands on some of those at this point. I would have no idea. And I've been in full-time practice for 27 years. What I can tell you is I have delivered messages from people who have passed on that were meaningful, powerful, and made a difference in their life, and was clearly from their loved one who had died. So it's a hard sell to tell me that we just become dust. Because if we just become dust, then how do we send messages through people like myself who do mediumship? And then when suddenly a mystery gets solved or something happens, when a stranger sits in front of me and a past life starts to come that puts in missing pieces in their life, that brings some kind of core truth in them that makes them understand why they may be doing something that they may be doing, or something they may desire, or some fear they may have that they have no idea where it came from. And when somebody who is good, and I put myself in that category, sits there across from a stranger and tells them things like this, it opens their mind to the fact that maybe I did have a past life. And then, I do have a class on reincarnation that is through OMTimes Experts. You can go to OMTimes Expert. I will try to get the link to my reincarnation class there, since we're talking about it on air. But there's been a lot of work done for a long time, going back to the 50s, by universities that first tried to disprove reincarnation and then turned around and decided that they couldn't disprove it. That there were things that they could not, things that were beyond logic and reason, stories. And I've been teaching my reincarnation class since the early 90s, and talk about certain cases and things that there is no other explanation for. And when you have eliminated all that is possible, it only leaves what is impossible, as Arthur Conan Doyle said through the voice of Sherlock Holmes. And so for those people who impossible means reincarnation, well, take the class. Just look it up online if you want to really research it. There are some things that don't have explanations. So when people talk to me about, you get one life and you go up and there you are and you spend the rest of eternity for thousands of years, that there are people that died 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, that are hanging around as a soul. They got one little lifetime, sometimes for 5 years or 7 years or 20 years, or maybe it was an 80 years, or, whatever. But they got one lifetime, and then thousands of years of waiting for the rest of humanity to do something so that they all join together. That may work for you, doesn't work for me. I can respect that it works for you, but sometimes I find that people that are very ensconced in their religious beliefs, and I have been known to call some people religious nutcases, and I will stand by that term. There are some people out there that are religious nutcases. But that doesn't mean everybody who's religious, I think, is a nutcase, or that any one religion is bad if it will just, I just want it to behave itself. We're going to get more into that in the next section as we talk about religious bullying and some of the effects that it has, and why you should not allow it, and why you certainly should not participate in it. But again, I've talked to enough dead people. I've seen enough past lives. I've had enough experiences with and for other people that I would have no knowledge or no way of, that tells me that, for me, my belief system works. I'm very comfortable with it. When I leave this shell, I know I will go on to a better place, as in return to my soul, to my greater soul, to my oneness, with God, Goddess, Allah, Buddha, Great Spirit, Great Pumpkin. I don't care what you call it. And then in that, I will review this life and see where I zigged when probably I should have zagged. See what soul commitments I had that I made and completed and contracts fulfilled, and which ones I blew off, which ones I missed, and what things do I bring forward that I still need to learn because I didn't learn them or experience them in this lifetime. And that is what I know is waiting for me. I know it because I've talked to people that have gone through it from the other side. I've talked to people on this side. And we'll be right back.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Aloha, my name is Jennifer O'Neill, and I'd like to invite you to come join me every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time for my show, Spirit Chat. Spirit Chat focuses on simplifying the process of using the spiritual tools and gifts you were born with in a way that fits into your everyday life. I also teach different techniques that will help you learn how to navigate the spirit realm and empower you on your own spiritual journey. So join me this Wednesday as I guide you through the spirit world.
This is why you work so hard to pay the mortgage. Because home is more than four walls and a roof. It's that porch swing on a summer evening. It's everybody over for Sunday dinner. And your family sleeping in their own beds at night. Making Home Affordable is a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov.
Good night, Mama.
This is why. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Dr. Kevin Show. I know that we had scheduled that we were going to have my partner in crime, Angie Dionju, to do a spiritual lens show with us tonight. Unfortunately, she had somebody, she had a pet that is an emergency vet service right now. We're all sending good energy and prayers towards Mr. Flops that everything will be okay. And so I'm taking the show in order to talk about a number of different things. We started with suicide, and then what is death and what happens and what do you believe? We moved on to reincarnation. If you would like to post on any of this, you may come to facebook.com/mydrkevin. You may leave a post there. If you would like to call in, the call-in number is at the facebook.com/mydrkevin. And you can see the call-in number, or I'm just going to give it to you right now, 202-570-7057. So if you have any thoughts, ideas, opinions, or things that you would like to share around, we talked about suicide, and we talked a little bit about the right, and I would really love to have somebody call in and chat about some of this stuff. But if you don't, it's okay. You can, if you're hearing this as a replay, feel free to post your comment. Find tonight's show on Dr. Kevin. I will leave it at the top for the next couple of days. And, share your thoughts, and I will definitely get back to you with whatever you have to share. And I have put on the National Suicide Prevention phone number. I will give it to the Lifeline, and that is 1-800-273-8255. And so if you are feeling like you are depressed or you are struggling with something, please feel free to use this number and call and get some support. That's what it's there for. If there's somebody that you think may be displaying symptoms of suicide, I believe it's okay that you can actually go there as well, and talk to somebody about your concerns, and they may be able to guide you what to look for, what to be aware of, and what your options are. But I will also challenge you, as I always challenge, does somebody have a right to take their own life? It does not have to be that they are mentally unstable or mental illness. They may just be done with their life. And depending on their spiritual religious belief system, being done with their life is okay. And a lot of people get horrified when I say that, because they see it all from the perspective of me, how this affects me. So now we're going to move on actually to a topic that I've talked about on the show before. And I recently just reposted a meme on Dr. Kevin that you can find, which is called "Time to Make Bible Bullying Illegal." Bible bullying is anyone who, and I'm going to share these with you, and we're going to talk about it a little bit, starts quoting Bible verses at you without getting your permission. Now, if the Holy Bible is your holy book, I respect that, but it might not be my holy book. And for you to justify your thoughts and your actions by quoting me the Bible, I really think that, you need to engage me as if this is a reliable source. If I go to let's say I go to a fake news website. There are a couple out there. They're usually not the ones that are being called fake news, but there are some out there. And I use that to quote an anonymous source said. Because for me, and again, if the Holy Bible is your holy book, I respect that. But for me, the Holy Bible has a lot of anonymous people that have been involved in the writing and rewriting of that book. It has been transcribed, it has been changed, it has been shifted. And so if you want to talk about anonymous sources, you could talk about the whole Bible. It's nothing but anonymous sources. We kind of sort of think that this is what they said, and sometimes we weren't writing it down for hundreds of years until after they said it, and it was passed on. And if you've ever played the telephone game as a kid, where somebody would whisper something in someone's ear, and then they'd whisper that, and they'd whisper that, and they'd whisper that, and then you come down to the last thing and what is actually heard. It's completely different. So we don't know. We don't know. That book did not fall out of the sky yesterday. Complete intact with sparklies on it. And again, if it's your holy book, that's okay, but don't use your holy book against me, because it's not my holy book. And I go on to say on this meme, never ask whether the Bible is the holy book of your religious belief system, if they are unwilling to show the same respect to your belief system that they demand of theirs. And this is very important. Respect is very important. We need to learn and to teach and to demonstrate and to teach our children. All humans need to have a certain level of respect. When somebody does something that you lose your respect for, and you earn levels of respect, but there is a respect of, I don't know you, you don't know me, I'm going to respect you enough to not assume that you have the same religious belief system. Why would I assume that, why would you assume that I feel the same way about all of these things? I'm willing to discuss them with you if you'll be respectful. And if I come back and say, that's not a legitimate source for me, then you can say, well, then we don't have anything to talk about because that's my source. And I go, okay. You can choose to say, well, what's your source? Why do you feel about that? In the last segment, I talked about why I believe in reincarnation and why I believe that souls go to a place where we can communicate with them. And not only that they come back, but that we can have this dialogue. And I mean, I'm willing to make my case. I'm willing to have a reasonable discussion. But you can't keep on saying, but the Bible says. If the Bible isn't my book, it's disrespectful. And then, of course, my whole thing is, I have a little hashtag Bible bullying, that it's time to make it illegal. Yes, I said illegal. You're free. You are absolutely free to have any religion you want as long as it doesn't involve interfering with other people having whatever religion they want, that they have. Only picks and chooses quotes out of the Bible for shaming, blaming, and maiming your psyche. There are some very powerful messages, especially in the New Testament. There are some when people say Christ-like actions, those never involved shaming, blaming, or maiming somebody's psyche by attacking them, making them feel like they are lesser than or there's something wrong with them. I don't remember. Now, I wasn't raised Christian. I've said this on the show before. Doesn't mean I haven't had my brushes with Christianity and the New Testament. And I have my own personal relationship with Jesus. He's just not the one and only way, Jesus. But that doesn't mean that I can't respect that man as a great prophet and that he gave a lot of good messages. But those are not the ones people use to beat other people up with. I don't remember the last time I heard someone say something that Jesus said that actually we have any evidence that Jesus said that would ever justify hate and bigotry and putting people down. No, you're gonna use some quote from some verse in the old, Leviticus is always a good one, to take this one quote and ignore the 5 other quotes that, if you actually looked at, would say that you are every bit as, in your religion, you're every bit as much of a sinner as I am. You dismiss what you don't want to see. So this is, again, a way to identify a Bible bully. There's no thing in the Old Testament that said, well, this sin is okay and this sin is not. And we all know there's some pretty ridiculous, quote unquote, sins that show up in Leviticus and some of the other books. So when they pick and choose, and when they don't want to be held accountable by their own standard, it's bullying. It's a kind of bullying. You don't get to quote their Bible back at them because it's not your Bible. Well, it's not my Bible, so you shouldn't be quoting at me anyways, unless I invite you to. Bible bullying is never done as a Christian act of love, but a bigot's act of hate. When it's really sad because I know people that I truly respect. The Bible is their holy book. I can respect that. They live a life, whether that be Christian or Jewish, because the Old Testament is the Jewish. Jesus was Jewish. That they live a life that is a best representation of the best person they can be according to their religious belief systems. They're out there, and I respect them a great deal. But when you find things as a way to judge people, to put them down, to try to humiliate them, to belittle them, to justify your hate, yes, you are a bigot. And no, don't tell me you're Christian, or don't tell me you're a good, that you're in good standing as a good Jewish person, because I have never met a good Jewish person or a good true Christian who is spouting hate and bigotry. I do want to say that the term Bible bullying can be used about any religious holy book. And we'll be right back for the last segment of the Dr. Kevin Show.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Every 2 minutes, an American is sexually assaulted. The majority of victims know their attacker. It could be your friend, your neighbor, or someone you met at a party. If you said no, it's rape, and it's a crime. This is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Call the National Sexual Assault Hotline today at 1-800-656-HOPE or visit RAIN.org. That's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
Hello, 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 and welcome back to the last segment of the Dr. Kevin Show. When I have a guest on, this is called What a Load of Crap with Dr. Kevin. I have been spending a good part of our last segment talking about something that I think is a load of crap, which is Bible bullying. Bible bullying is when people use the Bible and quotes out of the Bible to justify being bullies, to justify being bigots. We were talking about that the term Bible bully can be used on any religious or holy book that someone uses against you, especially if it's not part of your religious or spiritual belief system. And Bible bullying has been known to leave permanent scars on people and even lead to acts of abuse, self-abuse, murder, and suicide. Back to where we started the show as we were discussing the suicide of Chester Bennington of Lincoln Park. And, I on this meme, and I'm semi-humorous but semi-serious, and actually I've got a few shares, people that have shared this out, and I would love to have everybody share it out, actually, who agrees with me. Obviously, if you don't agree with me, you're not going to share it. You're probably not going to come to my page, so you probably wouldn't see it anyways. But I call it a movement, that it's time we made a crime to Bible bully people. We live in a world where we get horrified or we get all upset about one kind of behavior and think it's horrible and then ignore because we're used to it, or you can't say anything to anybody because it's their, freedom of speech. Okay, it's your freedom of speech. That doesn't stop us from, as a society, deciding that some freedoms of speech are unacceptable and we push back at them. And there are ways we can push back. We don't have to send somebody to jail. But I think we need to step up. I think we need to speak out. I don't think that we need to just be quiet or not get involved when we see some poor kid or some young adult or anybody getting beat up by some religious fanatic who is bound and determined that they're going to beat you with their Bible. And I don't care if they're beating you with their Bible, or if they're beating you with their Torah and their Talmud, or if they're beating you with their Quran. It's just not okay. It's not okay. And we like to pretend that we're a civilized society, but it's not very civilized that everybody has to think the way you do. I don't think your way. I don't have to think your way. And in fact, it'd be pretty boring if we all thought your way. You get to have your way. That way. You get to rise up out of the ground when the judgment, when Gabriel blows his horn, or it comes down. You get to have your last days. You get to have your place in heaven among some odd number of people. You get to go to your 100 virgins in the sky, whatever it is. You get to have it, and I hope it makes you happy. I truly hope that it makes you happy. I hope that it gives you a happy and joyful life, and it makes you a good person of the world. But I don't have to believe that. I get to be happy too. I get to have my own belief systems, that our soul is a cell in the body of God. And that as a cell in the body of God, we are God, but we are not all of God. Just like a cell in your pinky would be you, but not all of you. And that with that in us, each one of us lies a divine spark, and that in of itself should get respected to a certain degree. That doesn't mean you don't set boundaries, and that doesn't mean you let people disrespect you. Just because somebody has a divine spark does not mean that they are working in divine right action, whatever you see that as being. But stop already trying to shove your book down my throat. Stop already with trying to make this a Christian nation. We talked a couple of weeks ago. You can catch the show in archives. I was on with Matt Connerton. The posting is on Facebook.com/MyDrKevin. Again, you can come in, you can you can leave a comment. I will get back to you. And there's still time if you want to call in. It's 202-570-7057. But a couple of weeks back, we did this whole thing about, we were not founded a Christian nation. Stop making up history. Stop role modeling to your children that lying is okay if it justifies your agenda. I think the fact that we allow our politicians to do this. We allow our leaders to do this. We allow them to lie, and we may call them on it, but we don't really make them accountable to it. Don't be somebody who self-justifies rewriting history to support your religious belief. Just have your religious belief. Live it. Role model it. If you're a Christian, be a Christian. That's compassionate. That's loving. That's non-judgmental. That is helping your fellow man. That is not humiliating somebody. That is not telling somebody, screaming at them that they're going to go spend eternity in hell because of how they were born or who they were born as. We say we're a civil country. We're a civilized country. But it seems like we have a wide berth of uncivilized behavior that is justified. Hi. Sorry about that. I'm having some kind of issue here with this. But as we're wrapping this down, and again, I want to make it clear that we need to be respectful and supportive of everybody's religious belief systems. And we want to role model that everybody gets to have their own personal relationship, even if that is with no God, even if that is as an atheist that may have a relationship with nature or trees, or may have a relationship with whatever, maybe just themselves and the people that are in their lives. whatever the case may be, the important thing is we need to become more respectful. We deeply hurt ourselves and others and those that we hand the world to that come after us. We hurt them deeply when we show them that this disrespect is okay if it's justified. It's justifiable disrespect. If somebody is disrespecting you, set a boundary, walk away, make it clear, but you don't have to disrespect them back. And it's not justifiable disrespect because they are Muslim or because they're Republican or because they are atheist or because they're Christian. Disrespect is still disrespect. It's not justified because they're a woman or they're a man or they're black or whatever. It's not justified. We are in an enlightened time of understanding and a time when there is so much good going on. And yet we have this swamp that it rests upon, that we've just built. We've just laid boards across the swamp, and we've built this foundation of this enlightened time of the 21st century. But the swamp is still beneath us. And the swamp is going to stay until we actually clean out the swamp that says it's okay to beat somebody up because of their party affiliation, their gender, their sexual orientation, their religion, whatever. Whatever it is, it makes no difference. It's not okay to beat them up. It's not okay for bullying to happen. And we can say, oh, don't bully in the schools. And we shouldn't. And why are these kids bullies? Where do they learn bullies? Where do they learn bullying? Well, they see it all the time. They see it from our president all the way down. Depending on, if they turn on a TV show or if they have a certain religion, they may be seeing it from the pulpit. It's there. It is a kind of bullying. It's a kind of situation that if we really want to end, we have to recognize and call all the bullies and say that no kind of bullying is okay. We need to call our president on it. We need to call the religious people who want to beat you into their religion on it. We need to call everybody on it, no matter what their affiliation, gender, race, creed, whatever is. We just have to say bullying in of itself is not okay. This has been the Dr. Kevin Show. Again, you can come to facebook.com/by Dr. Kevin. There'll be a post for today's show. You can also find the meme about Bible bullying on the show. If you go down my timeline a little bit, you can still leave comments. I will get back to you on those comments. I know that at the same time next month, we will be welcoming Angie back on the show. And again, we're sending out love and light and energy. And have a good week.